All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Donut Shop Cop, the podcast, where this is your one-stop destination where we delve into the captivating world of real estate investing, sprinkled with the irresistible aroma of my favorite freshly baked donuts, because I am a fat kid at heart and I love donuts. So I am your host, Chris. And along with my partner, Andy, we are going to take you on this journey with Donut Shop Cop. So, Andy, I'm going to kick it to you, my friend. Tell everybody how Donut Shop Cop kind of got invented, how we met, all that good stuff.
Oh, man. Well, I was at a donut shop on my laptop making really bad investment decisions, and you came in and arrested me for doing that.
I wish I did arrest you. That would be great.
Oh, man. So we were in a mastermind program together, and we met, and I knew Chris was a cop, and he wanted to give back to cops and show them a way to get their investments to work for them, right? Because coming up is going to be a storm coming, and, their money might not be working for them. So we came up with this whole thing. We're going to have fun with this. We're going to deliver donuts, although we failed delivering your donuts, Veena. Sorry about that. But I will say we got a coffee mug coming for you.
Yeah.
I love it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's on its way. And so we decided that we were going to put this together and make a difference in young and old and in between cops' lives, and bring on amazing guests like you and show them how that they can make their money work for them.
Absolutely. And so I'm just a dumb cop, Veena. So we're excited to have you here. We've got the queen of multifamily, the 10 billion with a B dollar investor. And is it Vive Funds or Vive Funds?
It's actually neither. It's Vive Funds.
See, my Mexican heritage came out. I was like, Vive Las Vegas.
Literally, everybody wants it to be like super exotic and fancy. And they do that with my name too. They'll be like, Vienna. And I'm like, no, it's just boring. The way it sounds is what it is. So
yeah, well, look at me. I'm just a bald, fat old guy, so it doesn't matter. Like it is what it is. There's no glamour here. So
you went for the Elvis Presley.
Yeah.
What's funny is my parent, like my dad, will be like Vive Funds, and I'm like, first of all, Dad, I've hired you to like work for the company, so this is the problem. Second of all, Vive is like literally it comes from both of your only granddaughters' names.
Oh wow!
So what did you? For 3 years I know, so it's still early on for him to get to know the name apparently.
Right. That's outstanding.
We need to get him.
So how did you get started? How did Vive Funds get started? How this whole thing get going?
Yeah, well, okay. So Vive Funds is, after many iterations of different real estate businesses, this is kind of like the final landing place that I've come to, and I don't even know if it's final. Who knows what's in the future? But for now, it feels like this is where we're going to be. But prior to this, I started investing in single family homes. That's how I started my own real estate business. So I started investing in single family, and then quickly realized it's not very scalable and it's a lot of work. And I really hated dealing with like tenants on a regular basis. So I was like, there's got to be a better way. And that's when I really started scaling up to multifamily. I had another company that I started with partners. And then I realized I just want to be like a dictator, and I want to like make choices on behalf of everybody. And so that's when Vive was really born. Now I have just one partner, my sister, who is a great addition because she's like the integrator to my visionary.
Awesome. See, now you sound like a cop. So we just handle all the bad people. So there you go.
I mean, I don't want to brag, but I have been like binge watching SWAT. So I feel a little bit SWAT. I'm like 20 David.
Well, if you're ever up in Northern California, I'll take you for a ride along. You can go to an actual police car.
Oh, cool. Okay, wait, I have a question. I got to clear this up since, we're obviously talking about important things right now.
Yeah.
Okay. in the show, right? Like
Yeah.
everybody has like a call sign or something. It's like 20
yeah.
David, 24 David, right? Like
Yeah.
that's their individual name.
Yes.
Why David? Like who's David? Why
it's the phonetic alphabet. Like it's just weird. So like the military uses alpha. So we use Adam, Bravo, Charlie, David.
Okay, so they'll
Edgar.
all have that team just happens to be D. So
they're all David. Like our SWAT team happens to be
okay, I was like, who is David?
Zulu.
Nobody explained this in the plot line.
Yeah, no. So our SWAT team is Zulu. So it's 7 Zulu 177 or 7 Zulu 35. It's just,
okay. Like it's to designate which team it is, and everyone gets a different number and letter.
Yeah. That way, if somebody comes up on the radio, like if it's a Paul unit, that stands for patrol, or if it's a IDA unit, that's an investigator. So that way, if someone screams for help, you're like, wait a minute, why is a detective doing out here? Like, what are they yelling for help?
Yeah, that is very helpful. Thank you. So now everybody listening to this can sleep at night now.
Exactly. Now they can be safe. They can be calm.
Wait. I got to interject here and kind of bring us back. There's a lot of acronyms in what we do too, right?
Oh yeah.
True.
Right. I mean, because when I first started in this, somebody was talking about ARV, and I told them I have a bunch of them in my garage, and they went, "No, not ATVs, ARV."
I love it.
So there's a bunch of acronyms we have to remember too, right?
Yeah, and then like multifamily specifically, like we have our own different language within real estate, which like Pace Morby always makes fun of me for this. He's like, you guys just make up words. Like, this is not what anybody normal calls it. Why do you do this? You're like being elitist. I'm like, I know, I didn't do it. I'm sorry. I just have to follow the rules.
You're being an elitist. I love it.
That's great.
So when you decided to transfer from single family to multifamily, like, did you educate yourself? Did you just jump in and say, I know how to do this? And how did you start?
I definitely didn't say I know how to do this, because like I'm still questioning what makes me qualified to do this, right? But no, I did jump right in, probably more hastily than most would. And back when I started doing this, there weren't really a whole lot of options for like education and for places like to build community, which is something obviously I've been really passionate about. And that's actually kind of where this last like 6 months has led me, and the foreseeable future. It's something I really enjoy, and I didn't realize I would as much as I do. But when I started, that didn't exist. And if you look even at multifamily communities now, I don't think that there's any community out there that's like the community that we're building. And I don't say that because it's a community that we're building and I'm involved in. I say it as someone who's been involved in many communities. I've seen many. I'm on like all the Facebook groups. Mm-hmm. And what I keep coming back to is this group it's more than just a Facebook group. It's a community. It's a mindset. It's a lifestyle. It is a way of helping others that maybe know less or know more or need something like. And what I think really differentiates the community that we're building is that I am not the star of that show. And that's what I set out to build from the beginning. Like, I will be a catalyst. I will definitely participate. I will push people. I will push you out of your comfort zone. But I'm not the only one posting. It's not like a lot of these groups are just like, oh, join our free webinars so that I can sell you this other thing and then this other thing and this other thing, which is fine. And I get it. It's like a tactic that works really well. I don't do that. Well, one, I don't have anything to like sell like that. So I don't have any reason to do that. But secondly, like, I don't believe that should be the core of what we're trying to do here, because I want to do it different.
I love that. And Andy, I'll let you chime in too, but that's literally why I'm here and how Andy and I got involved in this, because I'm literally a dumb cop, turned investor, and have stumbled across some success with help of people like you and help with people like Amy Majori, right? And so my goal is exactly what you said, to help people, right? I want to help cops. That was what I started with, but obviously I can help other people, and I have, but I want to help other cops learn that they can get involved in this real estate game. And they don't have to have hundreds of thousands of dollars to do it. No. And they don't have to go out and spend all this money. Like, they can earn double-digit returns simply by investing with somebody like yourself, right? Yeah. That has a deal that they can actually come and say, hey, this is an opportunity, and you may not need 100K, but maybe 50K, maybe
Yeah.
75K, right? And now they're getting passive income. So it's, you have to match your values and beliefs with folks, which is why I think Andy and I were so drawn to you, so drawn to people like Amy. So it's just an honor to even have you on the show and just talking with you. So
thank you so much. I appreciate it. I love Amy. And I think another really important thing for people that maybe don't have that 100K to at least like know as an option is you can use self-directed IRAs, right? Like we're going to see each other later this week at the Alt Asset Summit, which is run by Directed IRA. And they have over $1.5 billion of AUM. Right. And that means that there's $1.5 billion that is invested in real estate and other alternative assets from people's retirement accounts. And until I was in this space actively, I didn't know that I could use my IRA to invest in this. And a lot of people have a lot of their money there. And you can easily out-earn what you could get in the market with your IRA. And so like even for my kids, they have IRAs. And their IRAs, eventually they're going to get to a point where they have enough money that they can make an investment into a deal like this. And that's my goal with them, and my plan with them is to make these types of investments.
That's so awesome.
Absolutely. So I want to get back to some of the things we were saying about why you're doing this and personal, your beliefs. The most amazing, we were both at Dealmaker Live, right?
Yeah.
And the most amazing part of that whole weekend for me, it was the puzzle, and I want to get into the puzzle
because I loved it too. It was so good.
And I just got at that moment that was such a teaching moment for you, and it wasn't like you needed to be in the room. It was like, talk about that, because I think what you said about the puzzle was brilliant, right?
Yeah. So I don't know if you saw it, but I ended up doing like a 10 lessons that we learned from the puzzle on my Instagram. Like I did like a whole story series on it. It's still there if you want to go check it out. But basically, okay, first and foremost, I have to confess, I just really love puzzles. Like I love all games. I love puzzles. I love things that people find like really dorky usually. Like in my house, no one will ever beat me at Wheel of Fortune, ever. And, I'm that person that's like, if you're not prepared to lose all of your friends playing a board game, you're not playing hard enough.
You and I would get along, Veena, because my kids will tell you the same thing. Like, don't play with Dad, because he'll keep playing until Dad wins. Like that's the way it goes.
I think I get this from my grandmother, because she like loves to gamble, and I say that in quotes because she like lives in India. There's like no casinos there. Like she's never been to a casino in her life. And whenever we come into town, she always makes us play bingo, like family bingo. So we'll have like 25 people, and she makes us like buy all the cards, or she'll play like rummy with us, and then she'll like bet us rupees because she was in India. So she'll be like 50 rupees, which is like $1. Ever since we were little, like since I was like 5 or 6, and then she'd be like, okay, I won. Now pay me. And we're like, we didn't even really understand the rules.
Give me my money.
Yeah, she's like, doesn't matter. You owe me. So she's like the enforcer.
You're like, Grandma, it's $1. Like,
yeah, right. No, but she's like, no, pay me. I won. And I'm like, we don't even know how to play. And she's like, it doesn't matter. You owe me. Pay me. So, I think I get it from her to be like super competitive like this.
Yes.
So from this puzzle. So first and foremost, I got a new puzzle. And I thought it was going to be something we do at home, because my father-in-law, we both really share like puzzle hobbies. So we'll do puzzles together every now and then. So I just bought it. I was like, we haven't done a puzzle in a long time because we have twin almost 4-year-olds. So there's like no time for that. But I was like, do this. It was a $9 puzzle I ordered on Amazon. And then we had this conference that a lot of people from my community, a lot of my friends were going to be there. So, first and foremost, I snuck in.
Yes, I remember that.
I committed a crime. And I have a very guilty conscience, and I'm a rule follower. So like the first 2 hours I was there, all I did was try to find the organizers to admit to the crime that I had committed.
And you're in the perfect spot, donut shop cop.
You're not supposed to do that, Veena. You're supposed.
I know.
Miranda rights.
Right? Yeah. Right to remain silent and then ask for a lawyer.
Yes.
But I didn't. And I was like, I have to find them because I can't enjoy myself here until I admit to like the theft that I'm committing right now. So, and Michael Blank's a good friend of mine too. And they actually asked me to speak, and for whatever reason, we couldn't get it lined up. So it was like, I felt like extra, like I was stealing more than ever. Right. So anyway, I end up finding Garrett, his partner. And I'm like, he's like, Garrett, it's like, hey, Veena, it's so good to see you. Like, he's talking to me. And I was like, I'm like, sweating because I'm like in the middle of a crime being committed. He doesn't know. Right. And then so I'm like, Garrett, I have to tell you something. He's like, oh no, what is it? I was like, no, like, I just have to admit something to you. And he was like, okay. And he's like getting worried, he's like, what is it? Like, did she say something bad about me or whatever? And I was like, I don't have a ticket to the event. And he's like, okay. And so what's the bad thing? And I was like, no, that was it. I just didn't register. And I came and he's like, Veena, are you being serious? And he's like, it's so dumb. But he was like, I'm so glad you're here. I'm glad you're hanging out. And all of this to say, so I brought this $9 puzzle. And even though I was like illegally there, I brought this $9 puzzle. And I was like, we should do this as a community. And there were so many things I feel like we learned from it, right? Like it was the first time I'd ever done that. And I also feel like every conference, within 6 months, every conference is going to have a puzzle. Like I almost feel like it's going to be
absolutely,
right? I bet they will.
Because it was so fun. It was such a great team building activity and a team building exercise. And it was like, everybody was working on a common goal. It was a 1,000-piece puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a common goal, which nothing unites a team like having a common goal, right? And like I compared it to multifamily because I'm like, in multifamily, we're all working toward like one really large goal that would either take a really long time or just be impossible for any one person to complete.
Right.
And then what was really cool about it is like, I just started doing it myself. Like I was alone at first. And then one person came and sat next to me and was like, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm doing a puzzle. Come hang out, come help. And so then she started doing it. And then the crowd grew and grew and grew. And even people that walked up, they were like, oh, I'm terrible at puzzles. And I'm like, okay, but you don't have to do a whole puzzle. You can do like one thing. Maybe, your role is not doing the puzzle because by the time we were almost done and your granddaughters came in, right? By the time we were almost done, we had no light because all the light was natural light from the sky.
Right. Yep.
And we didn't have natural light because it was like 8 p.m. by the time we were getting even close to finishing. So there were people that were standing there and they were like holding their phones to give us light. But you know what? Without those people, we wouldn't have been able to finish the puzzle. So I was like, everybody, no matter how small you might think your role is, it's crucial to the bigger picture because we can't do it without certain things. If one piece of the puzzle is missing, it makes it very tough to complete the puzzle.
Yeah.
And so I thought there were so many parallels between, working together. It took a whole village to do it. Everybody had to work toward the same goal. We ended up having the wrong photo on the cover of the box.
Yes, we did.
So we didn't even end up.
This is why we can't have nice things, Veena.
This is why we can't buy $9 puzzles on Amazon. Right? And I was like, but I thought about it and I was like, you know what though? This is kind of how it happens in real estate. When do you ever buy an asset that everything about the asset and there's no surprises?
Perfect.
Literally never. If you've been in the game long enough, you know that there's always something that you don't know, you can't predict, you can't plan for, and you have to adjust and you have to keep going knowing that. And then it took a long time. It took us like 8 hours to do that puzzle. Yes. It was a very long puzzle, but we finished it. And like, I feel like, Andy, how did you feel at the end of that? Like, I was ecstatic.
Well, my granddaughters kept telling me, we want to go back to the puzzle. We want to go back to the puzzle. So we kept coming back to the puzzle. They made $20, by the way.
They did. They made a lot of money, just like in multifamily. Another multifamily lesson. Yeah.
Now you have to take now you're going to take your granddaughters to every real estate because it's a puzzle.
Yeah.
It's a puzzle convention. That's what they're going to think in their brain.
Yeah. Now they know what grandpa's really doing.
Yeah, exactly. Grandpa just goes and does puzzles. Like, come on.
They had a blast, but what they learned was teamwork. Right?
Yeah,
that's what they were learning that, and you were so gentle with them, and I love that.
I mean, they're
Yeah.
learning. I have young kids, so I totally get this. Like I see my kids there in the next few years, and I think it's so important to teach that next generation too,
Yeah.
right? And it took a lot of patience, and they persevered, right? Like nobody got every piece right the first time they put two together. It took many iterations to find the winning combination. And I think it's just such a good lesson for like any business owner or any entrepreneur. Like this mirrors real life.
It does.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. I walked away from that. Out of every little piece of nuggets that I took away from that, I was like, that was the most brilliant thing I've seen happen at a convention. Honestly,
I just loved it. And you know what I also loved is that like you got to spend so much time with people that you maybe wouldn't have met otherwise, right? Like this is the ultimate introvert hack, by the way. If you are an introvert, take a puzzle to a conference and start doing it in public, because people will come to you and they'll be like, what are you doing? And so did you notice, Andy, like some people were like a little bit embarrassed to ask because they really wanted to do it, but they didn't like want to just come out and say it. So as soon as they walked up, we're like, join us. We need more hands on deck. And it lowers the barrier for talking. It takes away like the anxiety of like new conversation for introverts, right? Like if you're not quite sure what to say or you have social anxiety, this alleviates a lot of that.
Absolutely, it did. Yeah.
So I'm dying to ask this, and I told Andy I was dying to ask this too, right? Because obviously I have kids too. My kids are older, so I've got 2 daughters and a son. But my daughter's thriving in corporate America, and my son just became a fireman, and my youngest daughter, she's aspiring to be a PA, right? So they're all contributing to society. So I feel good as a dad.
Yes.
But obviously, they don't listen to us as parents, right?
Yeah.
They do, but they don't.
Yeah.
And so they've seen me be successful to a much smaller degree in real estate. So, seeing you, we've raised powerful daughters as well, and independent, and they can go do what they want. So I'm intrigued as to what you would tell your grown-up daughters as they kind of start going down that path of college or real estate, right? What would Veena Jetti's advice be to like my daughters who see someone like you, very successful, very driven, and that's how both my daughters are, just like very driven, very successful. So what would you tell them?
Oh gosh, this is a hard question because I spend so much of my time thinking about what they're going to be like, what their futures are like, and then every day they wake up and they like have some new, totally unplanned agenda that I did not predetermine for them. It's like they have minds of their own. But I think as they get older, so first and foremost, I'm the daughter of immigrants. And, they say that you go from shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations, right? Like the first generation makes it, the second generation grows it, and the third generation blows it. So a lot of my effort and my energy, because I'm the generation, my parents made it, now we're growing it. And I'm like doing everything in my power to make sure that my children are not the generation that blows it. So a lot of effort and energy goes into asset protection and rules around the trust and stuff like that. But what I would say is that when they're older, and it sounds like your kids are already doing the thing that I hope for most out of my kids, which is that they're productive, contributing members to society. Because that's my one goal for them. Whatever they do, I don't care if they want to be teachers or entrepreneurs or painters or whatever they want to do, but I want them to do it with 110% to be the best at that thing. And I want them to get fulfillment and happiness first and foremost. And then I want them to give back. I want them to be productive members of society. So the one thing that they cannot do is rely on a trust fund and call it a day and kick their feet up. That's not going to happen. I will give all of our money away before that happens. So
that's amazing. We used to joke around with our kids when we were young. But Mom, Dad, we're rich. No.
No, you're not rich. You're poor.
Mom and I are rich.
Yeah.
You have nothing.
You are poor. Yeah. And that's something we do with our kids. Even now, they'll be like, Sissy is sitting in my chair. And I'm like, no, you don't have a chair because you don't have any money. That's Mommy and Daddy's chair. We're willing to share that chair with you, though, for now.
Brilliant.
Right.
Like we do that with everything. Like even when they're like, Sissy is looking at my bed. I'm like, no, you don't have a bed. That's my bed. You can borrow it, but it's not your bed. Those aren't your clothes. Those are my clothes.
Yes.
You can borrow them.
Yes.
So we try to instill that in them early on, that like, you don't have any money. And if you want money, that's great. And so one thing I would say, and I do this even now with my kids, but I never limit their dreams or what they believe is possible.
Great. Yeah.
So when my kids say like, oh, here's a great example. I took the kids and we stayed in Pace Morby's guest house. You guys know Pace, right?
Yes.
Okay. He has this beautiful house, like gorgeous, gorgeous house. And he has this whole guest house, which is like the size of my entire house, right? And so, but they have like a pool and a hot tub and a water slide in the backyard.
Wow.
And it's gorgeous. And so my kids have like the best time, and like our daughters are all friends. And we leave their house, and my younger twin goes, Mama, when we get home, can we get a house with a pool and a water slide and a hot tub just in case?
I want this and this and this and
And
this.
I was like, yeah, you can get a house with a pool and a hot tub and a water slide, but they cost a lot of money. And so you're going to have to work really hard to get there. So I don't ever tell them like, no, you can't have those things. I say, yeah, you can have that. You can have a plane, you can have a boat, you can have a pool, you can have as much candy as you want. You can have all those things, but they're not just handed to you. This is really hard work. And I tell them like, mom and dad work really hard to give you this. And so I would say, especially as they get older, it's even more important to open up their beliefs of what is possible. Because I think a lot of times those limiting beliefs are shoved on us from society in all directions, right? Like
Right.
I think about it like when my kids get on the airplane and the pilots like let them go into the cockpit and they're like, oh, do you want to be a pilot when you grow up? Which is really cool, but like I want them to own the plane.
There you go.
I don't want you to be a pilot when you grow up. I want you to hire a pilot when you grow up for your plane, right? So it's like those subtle nuances and that it's okay because 99.9% of people will never own a plane. And I might never own a plane. I don't know. But like the thing is, I don't want them to be limited by what my experience is or what someone else's experience is. So after that, like, we'll go back, we'll sit down and be like, listen, you don't have to be a pilot. We have to be nice to everybody and we have to, be thoughtful of everybody and be kind, but you don't have to be a pilot. You can have a plane and you can hire a pilot and they can work for you if you want, but you have to work really hard to do that. If you want to be a pilot, that's great too. But I like have those conversations to counteract what they're being told all the time. And it's in the most subtle and most innocent of ways. And like the person on the plane next to me always thinks I'm like the craziest person because they're like, what are you saying right now? But I'm like, right. But like, come on, it is possible. And it's also funny too, because like we're sitting in coach because I have like 100 people that have to travel with me when my kids are there. And so we're always in coach with them. And so like, we're at the coach tickets and people are like, what are you talking about? Which is funny because I bet you in first class, there's many people that would be like, yeah, okay. Yeah, this makes sense. Checks out. And so it's like a mindset.
Right.
That's awesome.
So I don't know if that answered your question because
no, you did. I mean, it's a normal answer, right? I mean, that's what parents should aspire to. I just think it's so ingrained in us because we're investors and we're around the same like-minded people that have the same goals, the same dreams. And, folks like yourself, they live the time freedom. I'm headed towards time freedom. That's what we're all headed towards. Right. Yeah. But when you're not headed in that direction, I just don't think that advice resonates as good. Right.
Yeah, totally.
And so, and that's what I tell young cops too, right? Because they're always like, hey, I only have 25,000 or I only have 30,000.
Start with
that. And I have to kind of shift their brain and say, wait a minute, you have the luxury of investing $30,000.
Yeah.
Most people may not even make that in a year. And so here we're talking about you being able to give somebody $30,000 to earn double-digit returns on. That's not nothing. And that's not something you should just slight or, play down and say, hey, I'm not that successful because you have that ability to do that. So
I love that. What I really love is that that is the exact mindset that like I try to instill, because I meet a lot of people, right? And they'll go, oh, my portfolio is not as big as yours. And I'm like, this is not a competition between us, right? Like, or someone will be like, oh, especially women do this. They'll say, I only have 10 units. And like, I think you're in the right room because you think that that's a small accomplishment. So you're in a room with people that are probably smarter than you or have done more than you. So that's the right room. You never want to be the big fish in a room. You want to be a small fish in a big pond.
Yeah.
Yep.
But they'll say this to me and I'm like, let's just do a reality check here. The vast majority of Americans do not have $500 for an emergency in their account today.
Right.
The majority of Americans. Many Americans will never own a home in their entire life. Most Americans will never own more than one door at a time in their life. And you own 10?
Right. Yeah, let's put that in perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, like you're just.
I think I heard the stat, like 70% of Americans will only own one home in their life, or something crazy like that.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes total sense to me. And I think that number is actually going to drop significantly, especially as interest rates keep going up, as more and more investors are buying single family homes. Home ownership, I fully believe that by the time my daughters are grown, home ownership is going to be a very rare occurrence. Like, I think that when, I bought 2 other houses in my neighborhood across the street from each other. And so, like, my whole plan for them, which I'm sure they will never do, because my parents did this to my sister and I, and we never wanted the houses they bought us. But like, I'm like, oh, okay, one day they'll live across the street from each other. These like 2 houses is going to be so amazing. Which I know they won't, but it's
they won't want anything to do with that.
Yeah, they're going to be like, how fast can we sell it and get the cash, right?
Right.
I think that like when they're older and their friends are, starting their families and starting their lives post college, or whatever it is at that time, they're young adults. It's going to be like almost like they're unicorns, where their friends are going to be like, "You own a house? How did you do that?"
Right.
And I think that's so crazy. Like, that's so wild to think that that will be an unusual circumstance. Though I hope that they're in the right rooms and their friends are like, you only have one house, right? Like, that's a friend.
Right. Well, I think it will kick in with you as their mom. So I
hope so.
I think they have that going for them.
I hope so. From your mouth to God's ears.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I got to talk about some other stuff now. Like, you just put out there that you have a brand new logo, and Chris was like, well, why are we talking about a logo? I'm like, because I want Veena to talk about branding and how important that is, right?
Yeah. It's really important. As you guys saw in the beginning, like, one of the big mistakes I made was I never tested how people were going to read Vive Funds. I just assumed everybody was going to read it the same way I did, because I didn't put it in front of other people. And I really wish I had done that, because this is so common. Like I said, my own dad gets it wrong. And I'm like, man, if I
got it wrong.
Yeah, it's so common. Like, I would say at least half the people that read it get it wrong. But that's the thing, is like, when we're looking at something and like we're doing something that's like a total labor of love and that's so close to us, sometimes we miss these things that seem so obvious when someone else looks at it. So like, after I rolled it out, right, I started realizing that people were saying it wrong, maybe about like 4 or 5 months into the rollout. And I was like, we're too far in. Like, I just have to roll with this now, right? Like, so that's just how it is now. But if I had known the things I know now about branding and putting everything together, I wish I would have really taken a little bit of time, because that 10 minutes I would have taken to send this to like 15 or 20 people would have given me all the information I would have needed to reconsider if this is the name that we went with. I mean, maybe we would have still gone with it, but at least I would have gone into it eyes wide open.
Right.
But I think the importance of a brand, especially today, right, as AI is starting to kind of take over, anybody can create content. Right? Like, all of the things I'm saying, these are not revolutionary. These are not unique things. These are not new. But the fact that I'm the one saying them means something to people because of my personal brand.
Right.
And so
you've put them into action.
Yes.
Right? And proven them.
Yes,
Yep. I put them into action. I've proven them. And people know who I am because I built my personal brand and I'm building it every single day. And I didn't start building my personal brand, by the way, until October of 22.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. I did
Wow.
not do anything to start building it until then because I never understood the value of it. I missed many years.
That's a great lesson though, right there.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's something you guys can do, but I've been very diligent. I've been laser focused. It's something that I actually put time and effort into studying and making better and being better at.
Yeah.
But I think branding is really important. So like Andy said, I rolled out a new logo for the Mastering Multifamily community. And really the reason I rolled that out was because we're doing community camp next month in Montana, right? And so Jamil Damji, Pace Morby, Jerry Norton, Abraham Gray, and myself, okay, we're going to Montana, which I don't really know how I feel about this.
It's going to be great. What could go wrong?
It's only hiking.
That face says it all, though. Veena, that face literally says it all. I take it you're not a camper.
No, I like living in buildings with running water.
You wouldn't be a good pioneer then.
No, if I were born in any other era, I 100% would not have made it to adulthood.
So you would not be the star on 1883 or Yellowstone?
No. Well, let me put it this way. So I'm like trying to plan for this trip and I'm like have so much anxiety about it because I don't do nature things. Like the most nature that I do.
I don't do nature.
I don't do nature things. The most nature that I do is like I'm willing to be on a beach with a drink. And I'm also willing to go into the water as long as I can see down to the very bottom of it.
Oh, okay.
All right. So you made a contract with the universe. That works.
Yeah, that's like the extent of my nature.
These are the terms of my agreement with you, Mother Nature.
Yes. Yes. And like we've lived a good run like this. Like my life has been good without having these really in-depth interactions. And I'm like so scared because talk about being outside of your comfort zone. Like, so anyway, so if it gives you any idea of how unprepared I am for this trip, I'm like, I'm telling my husband, I'm like, okay, so I have to go to nature next month. I don't really know what this is going to entail, but I feel like my Nike tennis shoes are probably not going to cut it. And then I'm like, I need to buy new shoes. So, I get online and I think I went on Amazon and I was like, okay, wilderness shoes for women. Come to find out, they're actually not called wilderness shoes.
No, just regular shoes.
Yeah, so then I'm like nature shoes for women. And it's like coming up with all sorts of weird things. So then I find this pair that's like really cute, right? So I order them. And it came yesterday and I'm like showing my husband, I'm like, look, I got my new nature shoes. He's like, what are nature shoes? And I'm like, for my nature trip next month. And he's like, okay, first, I think that they're called hiking shoes.
Yeah, there you go.
Hiking shoes. That's what I should have called them when I didn't know what
they were blown.
Yeah, I was like, wow, you've earned your keep, honey. I'm going to keep you for it, although you could have told me that before I went like Googling for
that would have been useful a week ago.
Right. And so the shoes come and they're really cute and they're cute in real life and they're pretty comfortable. And I show them to him. He's like, these are water shoes. Hiking shoes.
It's a great thing you're not investing in nature shoes.
Yeah, right? No kidding. Do not trust me with a nature shoe investment because clearly that is not a thing. Someone should make that a thing though, just so I can be right.
Right.
But now I have to, unfortunately, return these really cute shoes because they are water shoes, not nature shoes. And I have to
take them with you when you go to the beach.
I feel like that's not a part of my life.
You're already over it.
I feel like the odds of me using them in the water is like pretty much zero. And there's going to be like a lake there next month too that we're going to be like swimming in.
I know. I was so excited when you posted that in the Facebook group, and then I was like, I'm in Colorado that weekend for a wedding. And I was like so disappointed. I was like, pouty face.
We'll do it next year too, probably. I think it's
Wait,
probably.
let's hear for the people that actually, the brilliant part about that, right, is that you put out a contest.
Yeah.
You challenged people to do something. I can't go because I'm going to be at another event in Arizona. Otherwise, I would have stepped up, but I can't go.
Tisk.
I know, right? But you did something, again, that was like totally amazing because you put it out there and you challenged people within your group, right? And those people, the people that got picked, I'm sure they're like ecstatic, right?
Yeah.
But they're going to be in the presence of learning that entire week, which was another brilliant move, right, on all your parts. So talk a little bit about how that felt and you know, when they found out and stuff like that, because that's what this community is about. I want to bring that back to what this community is about. I was talking to Brian Briscoe on a podcast, and we actually, that's really what we all look out for each other, and that's really unusual. As you were saying, this is the only industry that I've been in that people look out for each other and want to see people succeed.
Yeah. I mean, don't they do that in the cop world though? Isn't that kind of like a very strong covenant? Yeah. So
okay, the cop world.
It's easy to like transfer that over to this world. But I do agree with you in like corporate America, this, you know, it's like dog eat dog there because everybody's trying to vie for like that one promotion. And in this world, it's so cool because it's like, hey, let's just collab on this. And I'll actually tell you a really cool story about that. So my JV partner, right, when she was doing one of her very first deals, she put in a bid and she was part of a mentorship program. So I didn't ever join a mentorship. Like I never had a mentor or anything like that, like an official mentor or like a paid program. But she had joined a program and her mentor and her unknowingly were competing on the same asset. And her mentor ended up winning it. And then she finds out, so you were driving up this pricing. Thanks a lot, right? So she calls him and is like, hey, show me your numbers because this is like where I was, is what I looked at. Teach me. And of course, he's her mentor. So he taught her and he taught her very well because she's one of the smartest businesswomen I know in my whole entire life. And I'm so lucky to be partnered with her. But then they ended up partnering on that deal together. Wow. Because she was trying to get it and she took a smaller role, but he was like, hey, come in and partner with me. And then something similar like that happened with me. So I had one of the people from the community that, you know, I've been building reach out to me and say, hey, we have a deal. We're really excited about it. And I want to show it to you. I'm going to send you all of the underwriting, everything. If you can just give me feedback or pointers on what to do next, would love to, you know, talk about it with you and dissect it. So they send me everything. And the first thing I do is I go and I look at our bid board because I'm blind to what we're looking at and bidding on until it gets to a certain stage. I won't really know about it. And I mean, I have access to it, but I don't look at it, right? The team takes a series of steps before it gets to my desk. And so I look at our bid board and I'm like, oh no, we have an LOI out on this actively right now. And so I reach back out to them and I'm like, guys, like, I would love to help you. I just can't. It wouldn't be right for me to do this because we are bidding against you on this. However, you know, if you guys win it, come back to me. I'll look at passively investing or partnering or helping you guys. And then if we win it, you guys are welcome to like come back to us and see how we can partner and if it makes sense. We both didn't end up getting it, but that's like kind of the nature of what a collaborative environment looks like.
Absolutely.
It's not you or me. It can still be both of us.
Right. And that's so cool because that's what I tell these cops when I sit down with them and I'm talking to them about investing in real estate. They always ask me the same question every single time. Well, if this person does this all the time and they have so many deals, why do they need my money? Right. Why wouldn't they just fund it themselves? And I try to tell them all the time that when people join and they collaborate and they work together, everybody makes money. There's enough money to go around, right? And the fact that they're using your money means that they can free up their money to go do this again and then bring somebody else on and make them money. And yes, they're making money in the interim, but so is everybody downstream, right? I
love that.
This is one of those industries like you talk, because I was in corporate America before I became a cop. Like that's kind of part of my journey. You know, I left a 6-figure income at a major Fortune 500 company, Fortune 100 company, to become a cop, and I was making in a week what I made in a day. And I was like, and people were yelling at me, and I'm like, this is crazy, but I was having the best time of my life. And so I'm kind of doing that same transition now into real estate, right? Where but I love what I do as a cop, and that's why I haven't left yet. But then I love the real estate world because it's the same, it's a team environment. That's why people love the family of cops and, the Blue Line family and the flag, because everybody will help everybody. I literally trust you with my life. Why would I not trust you with anything else? And it's the same thing with you and Amy and Pace and everybody else that we get in the room with. You trust them because you know them and they're there to help you. And I think that's phenomenal. And that's, it's awesome hearing it from you. It just reiterates that point home. So
I love that. Well, I have a question. Why did you leave corporate America to become
Good question.
That's a great question. So it's an easy answer. It was literally my kids and my family. I was miserable. So the day you come home, and I traveled a lot and I worked a lot, so I was miserable, meaning I made good money, but as you go up in the ladder, you get higher, more pressure, and then you're managing people, and all those people's problems become your problems. And so I came home, and then the beautiful thing was when your kids recognize it. So when I come out of the academy, and now I'm a cop, and I come home every day from work, when your kids look at you and they say, "Dad, you're happy."
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
It just hits home. So,
yeah, that's amazing. I love that.
Yeah. So, but anyway, we've taken up way too much of her time, Andy. This is crazy.
This is great.
It's been amazing.
We usually do these in 30 minutes, but we have so much to talk about with you.
Well, I mean, brevity is not my strong suit, so that isn't entirely surprising.
And nature.
Yeah, nature is 100% not my strong suit. Like, I don't know, guys, if this could be one of the last podcasts I do, because I'm not entirely sure I'm going to survive next month.
I'll come rescue you.
Skeptical I am. I know. I need someone to come rescue me. It's funny because this is the second time Pace is making me do nature things. So when I was in Arizona I think it was April or May, I was out there by myself, and he was like, "Hey, we're going to do a community hike with the sub 2 community." And I was like, "Okay, a hike?"
Wait,
he's like,
what?
Yeah, he's like, "It's not really a hike. It's just more of a walk." And he's like, "I'm going to bring my kids." His daughter's 4, right? And then he has a 1-year-old. So I was like, okay, if the kids are doing it, surely I can do this. His kids end up not coming. And then we get there, and it was kind of like climbing Mount Everest.
Oh, really?
In Arizona heat.
Wow.
And I have no nature shoes on, right? I have just regular old Nikes. And it was an hour going up, and I complained the whole entire way up. And I get to the top, and I'm like, this was so hard. And Pace is like, "Don't you feel great though?" And I was like, "No." And
no, I don't.
He's like, "But it was hard and you accomplished it." I was like, I would rather raise $100 million than do this. And he was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "That seems so much easier than how hard this was." And I think he was a little bit shocked that I said that. But I was like, listen, I'm not someone, I'm the eternal optimist, right? I am not a complainer by nature, except when in nature. In nature, not by nature. And I was like, Pace, this is the only time you're going to hear me complain, but I am going to reserve the right to complain for the entire 2 hours that we're here. And then you won't hear me complain after this.
It's a good thing this isn't called Wilderness Cop.
Right. Yeah, I have a lot of opinions on Wilderness Cop. Okay, so many opinions about that. And it's funny because my JV partner Ellie, she's totally like me. We are just I can camp in a hotel. That's as much camping as I'm willing to do, right? And she's like me, but her husband loves camping, and she's like, "Yeah, we're going camping." I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "No, my husband wants me to do this stuff." And I'm like, "So you're gonna live in a tent on purpose?" And she's like, I know, Veena, this is going to be like the worst thing ever. And I was like, okay, blink twice if he's forcing you to do this. Like, why? Why is this happening? And I think she ended up convincing him to get like, one of those like glamping.
Oh yeah, the RVs.
Like, I could do that. That I can get on board with, but like, and even that I'm not that excited about. And then like,
it's still dirty.
Yeah. I mean, and like Jerry Norton sending me these texts of like videos from his cameras where like bears are being like out of their freezer. And he like sends me this, and I turned to my husband because it was date night, and I watched the video on the way to like our date, and I'm like, babe, do you know there are bears in Montana? He's like, I couldn't tell if Jerry was messing with me at first. He was just sending me like a YouTube video. No, there are actual bears in Montana.
Yes, there are.
Yeah, there are.
My husband's like, okay, just like don't. And he's like not really a nature person either. So he like but he's like more tolerant than I am of this. And he's like, okay, babe, just like if you're alone. I'm like, first of all, why am I alone in nature? Right. What is happening that I'm alone in nature? But
like, please don't let us be alone. No.
And then he's like, okay, but if you are alone, he's like, just don't be quiet because bears don't like it when you sneak up on them. I'm like, what is happening that I'm sneaking up on a bear alone in Montana? Like, what in your mind? What is this scenario? I'm like hyperventilating.
Bear.
So nervous. Bear. Yeah, that's what he's like. And I'm like, and also, I don't think I've ever been quiet in my whole entire life. I'm not about to start in wilderness and in Montana by myself. So I don't know. Clearly I have a lot of anxiety about this trip. I'm very nervous about it.
That's outstanding.
We charge by the hour, by the way.
Seriously.
That's outstanding.
That is amazing. But you could tie that back to real estate, right? Sneaking up on an investor or sneaking up on an agent.
Just don't sneak up on my cop.
No, I won't do that. I won't sneak up on anybody that has a gun.
Yeah.
I recognize how that could be problematic.
Yeah.
I'm not very quiet in general, so I just don't think there's a big risk of this happening. And I just think that, I feel like if I can survive this, I can do other scary things. And I'm really hoping that the other people there, like, because I'm putting my fear out there, I'm hoping the other people there will like encourage me along and be like moral support, right? And be like, see, it's not that bad. And, this will really be the test of who still likes me after I complain for 3 days straight.
You definitely should journal. You should journal.
You should journal. But I'm going to come back to.
You'll log it.
You should. Yeah. We'll send you a journal.
Yeah, it's too quiet if I'm journaling, and I don't want a bear to sneak up, to sneak up on a bear while journaling.
You could do a blog. You could just do a blog on your cell phone all the time.
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna be like, day 1.
Why am I out here?
Hour 1. Yeah, and then all of a sudden you'll hear it like, really funny. But that's the other thing is like I don't really run, so that's going to be a problem. This is all problematic. Is all I can see.
You're like, I'm out here in the dark.
Yeah.
We'll get you bear spray.
This is not a good idea.
I need bear spray.
You need bear spray.
I do.
Yeah, you do need a bear spray. They have bear horns. They have bear horns that you can.
Yeah, you can do that. They like bears. Don't like
basically like an air horn.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sure. We have them in Tahoe. So literally, there's bear horns. So if you see a bear, you're supposed to blow the horn. It's like an air horn. Yeah. They don't like it, so they take off and they head the other way.
What if they're like mad that I did that and they attack instead?
No, they're more scared of. They're more scared of the air horn.
Yeah.
That's what I'm told, anyways. So
Amazon,
I've done it to a couple bears.
You can get it on Amazon under.
Bear under nature horns.
Under nature horns.
In the same aisle as the nature shoes.
Yeah. Very well. Same website.
Perfect.
Okay, so this all really ties back to real estate and the fear of making your first commit. I'm sorry, I'm just bringing this back.
Yes.
I love where, but yeah, I mean that this is a great training moment, right? Because you had that fear, but you're going to overcome it, right?
Yeah, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it with the help of other people.
Yeah, So this is actually another great Veena training moment. We're going to turn this into.
Wilderness and puzzles. I got it covered.
There you go. So
I love it.
So yeah, we got to run, but and that, I mean, we'll stay on with you all day, but I know you got to probably.
Yes,
you're way busier than we are.
Yeah.
I have one sick kid, so that's day occupied today.
Well, thank you for joining us. Like literally, this has been a blast. You are all just amazing. So it's awesome to have you on. So
you guys are incredible. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate both of you.
No, we appreciate it. I'm not sure. Andy's doing some speed talking in the video.
Yeah,
so
it's weird. Probably
I don't know. I lost you guys. I lost you guys.
He looks like he's running from a bear, so I don't know what he's doing.
I don't know what happened.
From a bear.
Here's what we normally do, Veena. We are going to sign out, and we are going to tell everybody out there to stay safe, stay curious, and never underestimate the power of one good donut. And Veena Jetti, it was great having you.
Thank you.
We'd love to have you back sometime, and we're excited to see you this week.
Appreciate you. Thank you. See you soon.